Hello and welcome to the 2023 ARWS Kinki Grand Prix. On pole today is the returning BVN for Racing Point, and his teammate Takuma Taki in front of his home crowd makes it a front row lockout for Racing Point. William Story will be exceptionally pleased with that. Moving on to row 2, we see Emma Kickert, the second fastest Dutch driver in the world, set a time equal to that of Takuma Taki, but will start third on the grid as a result. And just fractionally behind her, again tying his worst qualifying performance of the season so far, is Martin McFry for Foxdale. On row 3, we find Akiya Yamamura also competing on home ground next to the winner from last time out. That's Gary Pacer from March 16. And on row 4, we have Araya Hevel on her debut, a very impressive qualifying effort for Hevel for TBA, replacing the banned James Wilmington. And Diego Alvarez Torrente will round out row 4 for Jones, coming off a first podium of the season for Torrente. He will be hoping to build upon that here. Rounding out the top 10 starters, we have Benoit Vouclair and Nathaniel Cameron for Foxdale and Jones, respectively. Edward Holm starts from 11th and John Bean in 12th. And then it's Jesus Castell and Monica Flatter on row 7 for March 16 and TBA, respectively. Somehow, Eduardo McWilliams has out-qualified Koyomi Seto. I have to assume that Seto had a bit of a setup issue through practice and qualifying. She'll definitely be hoping to put that right in the race. It's an Scuderia Adriatica lockout of row 9. Once again, Anu Voizu out-qualifying her teammate, title contender Carmen Alvarez Torrente. And then it's the Kahama Bentleys on row 10. That's Kalon out-qualifying his teammate Pierre Saint-Laurent, who actually overtook the longtime championship leader in points coming out of the Fuji Speedway race, the Japanese Grand Prix. And then it's the other two Bentley-powered entries, I should say, Andrei Kremnitsky and Václav Malish, starting 21st and 22nd, respectively, for Checkmate. Points leader, Phillippe Nicolas, will look to get one hand on the trophy if he can manage to finish this race in a decent enough position. He will start 23rd. And alongside him is Tomo Kazuma from Macao. And rounding out the grid, we have Humbert Moyamudie and Naoki Shinjo from Macao. And with that, the start of the race is but moments away. It is absolutely pouring down with rain here at Suzuka. We have the lights on and it is go here in Suzuka. It looks like a good start for BVN. He will hold the lead through the first corner. Taki maintaining that 1-2-4 Racing Point as we look back through the field. It doesn't look like we have too much chaos on this opening corner. Although Pierre Saint-Laurent back to 24th on the start. Not ideal for the Frenchman here, just checking through to make sure, absolutely sure nobody got any damage. And no, Koyomi Seto has lost her rear wing. Not sure exactly who got into the back of her there. I have to assume it might be Kalon, but hard to be certain. But Seto there very much out to lunch here with the without that rear wing on her car. This is going to be a very miserable drive back to the pits for her.
And it's causing a real logjam for everyone behind, starting with the two Adriatica cars. So she's just trying to make sure she doesn't lose it in these really brutal conditions here in Suzuka. First of the Adriatica cars has gotten by, and it's causing a bit of a shakeup in the V8 runners, with Shinjo now gaining a couple of positions, with Andrea Kurminski, the big loser here, finally getting past Seto here as they make it through the second of the Degner Kerns. Neuvenhuizen leads Taki, Pacer, McFry, Kicker, your top 5. 2 racing points are starting to eke away a little bit as they make it through Spoon Curve for the first time.
Yeah, so Taki actually doing quite well to hang on to the back of his teammate. This is absolutely exactly what William Story was hoping to see when he signed these two drivers to be his drivers for this season. And it looks like now, finally, the plan is starting to come together as they head through to complete lap 1.
Kick out with a good move against McFry.
Yes, let's have a look at that now. Heading into the Casio Triangle. Yeah, just a good attacking move there by Kicker to take the position. That's Kicker now up to 4th place.
Extremely tricky conditions under that braking zone for the Hitachi chicane, as Komi Seto will come in for her repairs on the rear wing. And Taki's been doing really good in this first little lap and a half, keeping up with Van Nieuwenhuizen. I wonder if there's a split strategy going on at Racing Point where Taki might be fueled a little bit lighter than his champion teammate, with Pacer already 2 seconds behind Takuma between 2nd and 3rd here.
Yes, as for the strategy, we're expecting most cars to be doing the 2-stop here. There are some takers for the 1-stop.
Engine failure in the leading Racing Point, going into the hairpin.
Is it? It is! Oh my gosh, BVN! What an absolute tragedy for BVN! He's developed an engine problem on the Koenigsegg, and was gonna have to get out of the way of his teammate very quickly here. Although that doesn't actually seem to be affecting the power of his engine currently. This is a bit strange, but let's see if he comes in to get that repaired.
And there goes Taki through. The engine is finally let go on the Koenigsegg free valve of Van Nieuwenhuizen maybe a little bit, losing a bunch of power here. It's going to allow Kicker to catch up, but Kicker had a big issue going through 130R. And it's going to give Pacer a chance with Pacer spot braking.
Oh my!
He is deep in the sand trap to driver's left and has lost his front wing in the process. Might have just caught up that white paint on the outside of the braking zone, and just the left side of his tires just completely let go on him. Now he's going to lose a lot of time and a lot of positions, letting everybody go through and try and get to pit lane as well.
Yeah, so
he's going to go right to the back of the field here.
Yeah, this is going to put him surely back in last place.
And Aria Havel is also out in the Burr Andeveld machine. She's had an issue of some variety. She might have just gone straight off at turn 1 in the chaos there, after everyone tried to get around Gary Pacer.
Not entirely sure what happened there. Looks like she had an issue with her tires or something. Perhaps I can't begin to imagine what that might have been. And Gary Pacer has stalled it. He's out of this race. The winner from Fuji Speedway will not be repeating that here.
And a small mathematical chance that the championship is gone.
Van Uvenhuizen's still circulating at the moment with his engine issue. It was a big plume of fire this time around underneath the on the bridge past Degner too, but he's still seeming to be able to circulate at a pace. Now holding up Kickert McFry and Akira Yamamura to a pretty good extent here.
Yeah, can't really do anything to defend down the... Oh, and Eduardo McWilliams is out. So this race very quickly turning into a disaster for Euromotor. There's a water leak in the Ford engine, and his race is very quickly done.
Unfortunately, not even the...
that's
my.
Akira Yamamura has also... Not sure exactly what happened there. Might have punctured a tire as well, the left rear, I think, and Yamamura wound up in the barrier and out of the race now. So the retirement's already coming thick and fast in these very treacherous conditions here at Suzuka Circuit. As we see now, Kicker and McFry have gotten around BVN and now into the podium positions. BVN hanging on to 4th place, but still seems to be significantly off the pace, but still able to continue for now. As we see, I think that's Benoit Vauclair has gotten around Jesus Castel for 7th position.
And Klon already up into the top half of the field, even though his championship odds really took a tumble last time out at Fuji Speedway with his mechanical failure. He was looking like an outside shot at the title with doing just enough to try and close that gap to Phillippe Nicolas in the holiday. But his 3rd non-finish of the year finally caught up to him, and the floor fell out on his championship chances, even though his teammate Pierre Saint Laurent still has an outside chance, but needs a lot more to go in his favor here at Suzuka, and then in a few weeks' time at the Macao Gita Circuit if he wants a chance.
Oh, and it looks like that engine is getting worse and worse for BVN. Huge plumes of flames coming out the back of it, but he's still carrying on. Albeit roughly 6 or 6.5 seconds off his initial pace in that car.
This may be a bit of a weird guess, but is the rain doing just enough to put out those flames and just about allow
on the engine potentially?
Not enough to the point of being competitive, but enough to, well, allow him to actually use the car.
Edvard Holm sizing up Torrente for a move into 130R, and he gets the move done. Great move there by Edvard Holm on the 2020 Formula 1 World Champion. Although now that's Benoit Vauclair making a look at the free wide.
He's also spinning into the Hitachi chicane.
Oh, that I don't.
He makes it through to the other side, skipping across the sand. He's going to be waiting a little bit for a little bit of clean air to clean real estate to redress. Gets back onto the circuit. There goes Vaclav Mausch and both of the Adriaticas. There goes Pierre Saint Laurent. There's Andrei Krediminski. He's able to get going. He has found a good spot, and looks like there's no damage on the Jones. He just caught it on that grass and on that painted white line on driver's left, and it just caught him out trying to fight back against Edvard Holm.
Speaking of which, it looks like Holm is now closing in rapidly on BVN. This would be a battle for 4th position. BVN still able to keep that car running for now, which is a very impressive effort given it surely cannot be very healthy at the moment, even if it is allowing him to continue this race. And yeah, that's
door opens for Edvard Holm going into the hairpin. Makes it BVN makes it very easy for him on what is effectively a survival drive now. Edvard Holm will move to 4th in the leading Simpson, or that's actually the second Simpson. Emmett McKickert's up to 2nd at this point, with Benoit Vauclair also slowing. Might have had an issue somewhere as Emma Kickert is out of the race from 2nd place. We're going to look on board at the replay here. Going through both sections of the spoon, had a mistake in the middle of the transition between spoon 1 and 2, and the car just went straight out off the track and out of the race on the spot. Goes the Simpson.
Yeah, looks like that was just
eliminate.
Looks like that was just a bit of a lock-up there, and just completely shattered the right front suspension of that car on the curb as she bounced over it. Emma Kickert is out.
This is all coming along very nicely for Nicolas, despite his low position today, even by within the V8 department, so to speak.
Yes, in fact, he's dropped behind both of the mechas. Typically, we've seen Nicolas able to outpace both the mechas fairly regularly, but he's currently actually last in the running order, save, of course, for Koyumi Seto, who is still recovering from that broken rear wing. But currently, we're seeing Takuma Taki now with a very comfortable advantage over Martin McCry, and now Edvard Holm in third.
I have to imagine that the Holiday team have gone very conservative with the strategy for Phillippe Nicolas, knowing that he basically just needs to finish and he'll have one hand on the championship before we make it to Macau. So he might be on the one stop today just to try and keep himself out of trouble. And importantly, he just needs to make the finish of this race. And he's one of the two drivers this entire season who have finished every race. The other one being Naoki Shinjo, who is second in the championship at the moment, but still a long way to go points-wise between the two. And he's doing everything he needs to do heading through this Kansai Grand Prix. We're looking at Václav Mausch in the leading checkmate here, leading both of the Adriaticas, with a Voizu over Carmen Alvarez Trente, with a couple of other cars. That's Pierre Saint-Laurent and Andrei Krediminski battling for 14th and 15th at the moment. Your top five after that initial shakeup: Takuma Taki, Martin McFry, Edvard Holm, the struggling Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen with an engine issue, and Nathaniel Cameron in the leading Jones in fifth.
And so just noted there that the Holiday team have swapped the positions of both their drivers, so now Nicolas up to 19th, as we see Cameron make that move on BVN for 4th position before the Spoon corner. That is a bit of a vital place to be making that move. Gets a bit of a run away from the chasing Castel and Bouclet, who also get past BVN down on the run to 130R.
Now this is like a 20-mile-per-hour difference between what we're normally used to out of the Koenigsegg free valve engine and what is currently ailing the Van Nieuwenhuizen machine. As there's a lot of moving and shaking in that group of four getting around BVN. It's Castel, Vauclabine, and Flatter all line astern as they make it onto the front straight here to start lap 7.
The full extent of the damage for BVN will become apparent very soon, because we can soon compare his lap times to Klon behind him in the W12 Howard Bentley.
Well, on that previous lap, he was 5 seconds slower than Klon, which is absolutely astounding. I have to wonder if perhaps he's lost a cylinder, and with that being a 3-cylinder engine, he's possibly losing about a third of its power. Looks like Anya Voizu has gotten around Václav Mausch, who seems to be holding up the rest of the W12s currently. That has enabled Klon to really get away from the rest of them, for the time being at least. Oh, and I think there might have been a spin as well for Naoki Shinjo. He's fallen well behind the rest of the V8 runners. That last lap was about 14 seconds off his pace, so he probably had a spin at the Hitachi Triangle.
The other thing as well for the i3 runners that make up most of this top 10 is that they are probably like the most innovative, most technologically advanced engines in this field. the Jones Fords, they use like the Ford EcoBoost, really advanced turbocharging technology, whereas with the Koenigsegg runners, like with Racing Point and with Team Bird Andeveld, it's this top-of-the-line pneumatic valve technology that Koenigsegg's been working on for the last, I would say, like 5, 6, 7 years, and it's being significantly pushed to its limits, and we might be looking at a valve train issue more likely for Van Nieuwenhuizen, who's now down in 9th, and he's going to be caught by Klon pretty quick here, as Lon is not too far behind the second of the Racing Points now.
Yeah, Lon there about 8/10 quicker than BVN on that previous lap. Now that, of course, BVN able to drive in clean air here. Both the Torrente siblings have gotten around, working their way. Well, actually, no, they're not, are they? Actually, where
Diego
is
making his way.
now? He's slipped back to 16.
He's had a minor issue as well, but with Diego, he's been driving real angry after his mistake at the Hitachi chicane. He made pretty quick issue of his sister going into turn 1 there, is trying to make up for lost time in a big way. Back up the P12 at the moment for Diego Alvarez Ferrante. Taki leads McFry by 10 seconds, and it's another 11 back to Edvard Holm. Another 7 to Nathaniel Cameron, and then looking at it'll be Jesus Castel and Benoit Vauclair in pretty tight proximity. But it is a struggle out there in these conditions. Pretty poor visibility. Might be a little bit of oil on the track from what's been what Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen's been dealing with, but still a long ways to go here. Still a lot left to play for in the championship, both in terms of drivers and constructors at the moment. Taki, McFry, Holm, Cameron, Castell, your top 5. Benoit Vauclair, Monica Flatter, John Bean, BVN, and Klon, your top 10 at the moment. And Klon should be pretty close to BVN this time around. It's looking at Monica Flatter and John Bean. There's a front wing missing car. It might be Klon's. It might be BVN's. Big plumes of really dark smoke from the back of the Racing Point. And there was a front wing there, I assure you. I promise you.
Yeah, perhaps it's the front wing that was collected from Diego Alvarez Torrente. Perhaps one of the marshals is just somehow possibly wound up
be the
mishandling it.
Gary Pacer as well. It could be from the front wing from Gary Pacer's Mark 16 after he had his issue at the Hitachi chicane. Looking at Tomo Kazama versus Phillippe Nicolas for position. This is crucial that Kazama holds him back up as much as possible to try and give Naoki Shinjo a bit more of a chance to try and catch up to Phillippe Nicolas.
Sorry, I could have sworn I saw a yellow flag there, but I must have been mistaken.
We're gonna peer behind the looking glass here. X86 Grand Prix 2 is a complete back-end re-engineering of Grand Prix 2 from Jeff Cram's Microprose Grand Prix 2, where it has been made to work natively on modern Windows technology, and a lot of the edits and modifications that have been made to this game pretty tried and untried and untested and fairly experimental, including our most recent change that allows for car weight to be much more editable than it originally was when this game was first made and was initially made moddable. So, and that includes this rain condition. Grand Prix 2 originally was just a dry race, a game with dry weather conditions, and you would need to change out the like the grip factor, the racing grip range, and that kind of stuff to try and simulate having less pace, increased mistakes probabilities, and maybe we're seeing some of that if we look behind the looking glass of what's been going on with this race and why Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen has been had an engine issue, but not an engine issue, because the smoke that he has been dealing with may be interfering with the spray as well. So he has an engine issue, but he doesn't have an engine issue. The game really cannot make heads or tails of himself outside of the fact that he is a cozy and a comfy 5 seconds off the pace here, with Klon still trying to catch up to this racing point ahead of him. And Anavoizu as well, starting to bridge the gap as well to the Bentley Yamaha as well, the Estonian. And there's a fire as well for Klon. That might explain why he's been struggling for pace as well. He also has a similar engine issue to what Van Nieuwenhuizen has been dealing with, and it's allowed Voizu to take the position. She's going to be getting another position here as her struggles ahead in the second Simpson that became the leading one with Emma Kickert's retirement. It's Edvard Holm, who's had an issue somewhere on the track and has stopped.
Except he hasn't.
Except he hasn't. Oh yeah,
for those
this
issues that you mentioned with X86 at GP2.
Yeah, this is one of those days, folks. So Edvard Holm still out on track. He's in P3 at the moment. We're following one of the Burt Andeveld cars. I believe that's James Wilmington. He's in hot pursuit by John Bean in the Block Monster machine. The remaining one, after Akira Yamamura had an issue on the run to Spoon curve about, I would say about 5 laps ago. And an issue for Anu Voizu. She is out of the race at the first Degner.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm not going to be doing replays. I can't be doing replays because that is really affecting the reliability here.
We got some we got some issues here. Yeah, I think the weather, if we're being honest, you might be putting like a proverbial wrench in how the game is trying to work. And you know what, let's keep this rolling. It's good. We're doing bug test. We're doing a bit of Q&A on the fly here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So it is what it is. We're running it live. As John Bean going to the inside of Wilmington at the Hitachi chicane gets the door slammed in front of him by not James Wilmington, it's Monica Flatter. As Voizu has ground to a halt. That is an actual engine failure in the Adriatica. As she will come to a halt to driver's right before 130. Our yellow flags flying both before and after the fastest corner on the circuit. Here goes Kazama and Phillippe Nicolas along by. So it is another position for Nicolas and a couple more points in his pocket at the moment as they stand, assuming that he also sees the end of this race. It's Taki, McFry, Holm, Cameron, Castell, your top 5. Vauclair, Flatter, Bean, Van Nieuwenhuizen, and Diego Alvarez Torrente, your top 10. With Lon starting to lose a little bit of time with Carmen Alvarez Torrente not too far behind at the moment. Taki leads McFry by about 11 seconds. That's another 19 to Edvard Holm. We're seeing Taki and McFry probably on the more aggressive fueling strategy compared to Holm and Cameron. With Holm and Cameron probably either on the 2 or the 1 stop. Taki and McFry maybe on the 3 stop at the moment, or on a very aggressive opening stint for their 2 stops.
Yes, if it is a 3-stop strategy, we'll start to expect them to come in at lap 15, I believe. As we're seeing Klon's struggling with his engine issues, that's not going to be difficult at all for Carmen Alvarez Torrente to get around the Bentley works effort. And he also allows Kremnitz to be through without too much trouble either.
At the first part of the Spoon curve. Next up, to get past Lon will be Pierre Saint Laurent, his teammate. going to be a couple of points in his favor as he's become a bit of a dark horse in this championship push with a race and 2/3 remaining before the championship is fully decided. It's a little over 40 to go here at Suzuka, and then we got another 50 or so laps out of the Macao Circuit as Nicolas takes a look at Kazama at 130R for position. That'd be for 16th, and he gets the door slammed in front of him by the Japanese driver, by the Japanese veteran of about 7 or 8 years going back here in ARWS. Rookie campaign was in 2016 with Kamaha before moving over to Macao when the series got revived, as I believe it was Malsh and Krenominski now getting past Lon here, because Kazama still leading the way over Phillippe Nicolas. McFly's gotten another 4 seconds ahead of Cameron in their relative battle, as Cameron has actually gotten past Edvard Holm here. And Edvard Holm is also looking a little off the pace as Jesus Castel gets past. And it looks like there was a little bit of an issue for Benoit Buckler behind in the spray, just getting caught out a little bit, getting a little bit out of shape in the Foxdale.
Yeah, that's Fouclay also getting around home there on the run down to 130R. Is home now falling back in the order with his engine also struggling.
Car on fire.
Yes, we're aware. Sorry.
X86 GP2 is having one of those days, let me tell you. Another look from Phillippe Nicolas on the mecha of Tomo Kazama. They're going to be trying for side-by-side into 130R. Nicolas is going to be on the inside and will take the position from Kazama. They both kind of get a little out of shape. Exit of 130R, it's going to allow Kazama another look around the outside, and she's going to take the spot back. Under braking for the Hitachi chicane. Real tit for tat stuff from two veterans in the series. And it's Kazama still standing tall, trying to do the best that she can to look after her teammate who's still deep in this championship battle. As they're going to be passing one of the earlier favorites in the championship, fallen by the wayside. Klon still trying to circulate as well as he can, but he is about 6 or 7 seconds off his ultimate pace at the moment, and Kazama and Nicolas caught him in a pretty ugly spot as Taki is out of the race. The leader Takuma Taki is out at the Hitachi chicane with another issue for the Koenigsegg free valve engine. Or not, that was a replay.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Sorry, I just hit that by reflex. Sorry.
We cannot press the replay button. The replay button is harem.
And apparently seems to have some dimensional influence that we will look into our technical staff for.
Yes, this is groundbreaking technology developed in ARWS. In ARWS here is Andrei Kremnitsky is out, and
Kremnitsky is actually out.
Yeah.
In the second of the checkmates, as Kazama and Nicolas have gotten past Klon here. Naoki Shinjo still way down compared to Kazama and Nicolas. Now going to get passed by Koya Miseto, who had to pit at the end of the first lap at Victor. She got collected, may have been by Klon, we don't know for sure. And she had to come in for a replacement rear wing on her Euro motor.
This must be a galling situation for Klon to be being overtaken by the V8s, and there's just nothing he can do about it in this situation. That engine just not on full song today now.
Now he's getting passed by Humbert Muramutia here for position on real merit, which is going to be a frustrating after race debrief for Klon and the Bentley Yamaha team.
Koyomi Seto has finally caught back up to the pack after, of course, her rear wing being broken turn 1, lap 1, and has now gotten around Naoki Shinjo for 18th position. As we're seeing Taki with that engine issue, now McFly very much hunting the Racing Point down for the lead here.
Yeah, it was about 10 seconds last time around, cut in half effectively by McFry, with the raw difference in straight line performance starting to come into effect here for Takuma Taki. Pace relatively has seemed to stabilize for Van Nieuwenhuis. He's kind of found himself in a spot where not really doing much around him as the engine is finally let go on the Koenigsegg as McFly has spun up by himself!
Oh my goodness me!
Oh my god, Martin McFly! He must have been absolutely astounded to see Taki pulling out like that, and just got on the just got a little bit out of shape for the Dagners and crashed hard into the wall. That's a devastating crash for Martin McFly.
There might have been a minor oil spill from Taki's Koenigsegg as well. There's a lot going on in that instance, and we have another new leader in the span of 10 seconds. It's Nathaniel Cameron in the Jones Ford, looking to go maybe 2 from 3 here, and 3 podiums in a row for the factory Ford team. Jesus Castell will move up to 2nd, Benoit Vuckler to 3rd. John Bean and Monica Flatcher will now make up your top 5. And BVN getting bailed out a little bit here, will get back into the top 10 as well.
This also elevates Diego Alvarez Torrente back up into 7th position after his earlier spin.
Yes, for those of us in the Discord call who missed it earlier, there's been a couple of instances of drivers being a little bit too far to the left under braking for the Hitachi chicane, clipping the white paint, clipping the grass, and going for a massive spin through the sand trap there. It's how we lost a Fuji race winner, Gary Pacer. He had a big ol' issue there as Edward Holm is now out of the race.
Yeah, his engine has finally had enough. His
engine has finally let go. So for Gary Pacer, he went for a big spin through the sand trap of the Hitachi chicane as Jesus Castell will come in for his first service, and then Diego Alvarez Torrente did basically the same thing, but managed to get away with it and only lost 10 seconds, relatively speaking. He's made up basically all of that now, back into the top 8.
Castell reported technical problems on the way in, so that was not a planned stop.
No, it was a planned stop. He is on the free stop strategy here. They fueled him up to pit again about lap 29 or 30, which is where we'd expect the free stop strategy to be done. So very interesting strategy here from the March 16, but it seems that that technical issue has not been fixed as Jesus Castell will now retire. And that elevates BVN into 6th position. He's still going. So Cameron continues to lead now by 6 seconds over Benoit Vuckler, and we're now seeing a battle for third continue raging on between John Bean and Monica Flatters. Seto's now in the pits and Cosman now in the pits, those both on the free stop strategy, it would seem.
It'll be Seto on an inadvertent 4-stop at this point, but did a good job to get back to the back end of all of the V8 runners who are still circulating on the track. 16 cars are left. As we are barely at a third distance at this point. It'll be Monica Flatter, John Bean side by side into 130R. Flatter will have the inside, but Bean will slam the door in front of Monica Flatter. Now they head on to the Hitachi chicane. And Flatter's going to be trying to get on the inside of the Hitachi chicane. Slammed the door on her again, does John Bean. He is not wanting to give up third place with the rate of attrition. There is a podium or potentially a race win on the line here for everybody in this race who can make it to the end here in Suzuka.
I say it's been like a DNF per lap, essentially, at this point.
Yeah, we're down to 15 cars still running now. Klon now elevated back up into 12th position simply by virtue of all the retirements.
Apologies for chiming in, I just joined. This looks proper wet.
Yeah, this is, and it's also interfering with the retirements. Like, BVN should have been out ages ago, but it glitched his car, so now he's just rolling around several seconds off the pace. This is a side effect of using x86 GP2.
Yeah, Klon as well. It's also like a 5 seconds off the pace as well.
I mean, you can say he managed to get the car kickstarted or something. Maybe.
We're seeing
This also means
sorry,
that Jess can't use replays. With the way the issues are, it's all related to the replay system.
Yeah, it seems that Cameron and Clay now are pulling similar lap times on the previous lap. We'll see how they do this time by the timing line. A 2 minutes 4.2 second lap for Cameron, and a 2 minute 3.6. Benoit Bouclé is closing in on this lead, at least on that previous lap, as we now see Monica Flatter make her first pit stop at this stage. This is puts her firmly in the window for 2-stop strategy. Yes, I think that's Tomo Kazuma there has just gotten around the struggling Klon, now down in 13th position. He only has Shinjo and Seto behind him currently. That's Nicolas in for his first stop, also on the 2-stop strategy for Holiday in this one. It's actually critical for him to see if he can get out ahead of Tomo Kazuma, as we've got another car out of the race. That is Klon! And any hopes of Klon getting back in this championship fight, I think, are done. But returning to the battle between Kazuma and Nicolas, Nicolas has gotten out in front of the mecha, so this has really benefited Nicolas, staying out those extra couple of laps, getting in that clean air, and now he's gotten ahead of the mecha and got another couple of points for his championship fight, as Nathaniel Cameron has made his first pit stop of the race, handing the lead to Benoit Bouclé. And that's a very good lap on this previous lap, 2 minutes 3.9. He's looking like he may in fact be on the 1-stop strategy. If so, this could be a real coup for the Foxtail team if they could get Benoit Bouclé to a win here.
It's 5th different leader we've had in the Kansai Grand Prix so far. only two of them remain in the race. It's Nathaniel Cameron and Benoit Vauclair, with Cameron coming out in third in pretty clean air as we have yellow flags at the Hitachi chicane. Monica Flatter had a spin, either by herself or still battling with John Bean. Lost quite a few positions now behind Van Nieuwenhuizen and Diego Alvarez Tarente in the Berandeveld.
Yeah, I believe that's, well, she recently pitted, so I think she just spun after that. So, but definitely has harmed her chances of coming out on top in that battle with Bean we saw earlier in the race.
Caution's out in Mexico City, by the way. Ryan Truex has spun the 11 Yahoo Toyota Camry.
Ryan Truex. Wait, is Hamlin not in there?
Hamlin's on bait. Hamlin's partner just had their kid.
Oh, okay, that's a good problem to have. Congrats, Hamlin.
He got his waiver. He can still race in the playoffs after this, but Ryan Truex just had a spin by himself, installed the automobile, and got a caution.
Ooh, okay. Yahoo!
It is spelled YAHOO exclamation point, so you have to say the Yahoo. We're looking at John Bean pitting on schedule for his first service from second place.
Which will put Cameron back into second position. We'll get a good accurate timing of distance between himself and Vauclair out in front. That is 16.8 seconds. So with both cars still effectively got one more stop to make. That is a bit of work to do here for Cameron if he wants to get that second win of the season.
And it's gonna, when Vauclair pits and comes out, it's probably gonna be about 10-ish seconds, 8 to 10 seconds. The gap still Cameron in the lead. But then it's going to be all about what Nathaniel can do on that middle stint and on that final stint. But luckily for him, only about 14 cars still circulating. He's going to have clean air pretty much rest of the way. It's going to be working out in his favor if he can make that two-stop stick. And looking back a little bit deeper, Phillippe Nicolas has built up even like a little bit more of a gap over Kazama, but they're still effectively tied at the hip here. Probably about a second to a second and a half between the Holiday and the Mecha, both with the Mugen Power. And it's still Naoki Shinjo still behind the two of them as the point swing in Nicolas' favor is going to be about another 4, I would say, towards the Holiday driver, with Shinjo coming in for his first service of the day.
Yeah, that's that earlier spin, we believe, by Shinjo, that well, he was running ahead of Nicolas earlier in the race, but that spin he had at the Hitachi chicane has definitely really hurt his chances of taking any points out of Nicolas in this race. Now we're seeing Diego Alvarez Tarente making his first stop of the day, again firmly on the two-stop for the former Formula 1 world champion.
Very good pace on that second half of that first stint from Diego after his spin to get himself back into the top 5. He's still got a pretty good chance at a podium here if he's able to keep this up. Starting with what looked like to be a very short middle stint, fairly lean amount of fuel put into the back of the Jones Ford. He's going to exit behind John Bean. He's going to have plenty of clean air to work with as we see Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen come in for his first scheduled service in the Racing Point.
This stop is crucial because it will show us whether they can fix the technical issues on his car and get him back on pace.
8.6 second pit stop. Either they have some incredible mechanics there in Racing Point, or no, they cannot fix those technical gremlins.
We did see Kalon have his service and then retire pretty shortly after, so we'll have to wait and see if coming to a halt like that, let the heat kind of recirculate through the engine and then maybe that's the instant it'll go pop, but we just don't know at this point, as he will come out in 9th. Once, whatever one-stops are out there outside of Benoit Vauclair are going to be competing probably in the next 5 or 6 laps or so, as we see Van Nieuwenhuizen all over the back of the remaining checkmate of Václav Mališ, after Kretiminski stopped on track just after the second techner. As always, BVN is grinding to a halt here. Looks like what I was talking about with the kind of the heat soak in the engine has finally let the Koenigsegg free valve to an untimely demise, as Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen out of the race after what looked to be a really good start for Racing Point. They were 1-2 in flying formation until the wheels just started to fall off between both Taki and Van Nieuwenhuizen having engine failures on their own.
Yeah, it's also a similar issue happened to Jesus Castel, so it does seem that even if these engines are able to carry on with whatever technical issues they're having, it's very much a once you bring that car to the stop, as you say, the
game, the x86 GP2 resets what's going on, and it's like, oh, you can blow up now. You have my permission to die, as it were.
Yeah, that.
So 13 cars remain. It is Vauclair, Cameron, Bean, Diego Alvarez Tarente, Flatter, Carmen Alvarez Tarente, Pierre Saint Laurent, Václav Mališ, Humbert Moutier, Phillippe Nicolas, your top 10. The other 3 cars remaining in the race are Tomo Kazama, Kayomi Seto, and Naoki Shinjo, currently in 13th position, currently working lap 22. Nathaniel Cameron has taken about 2.5 seconds out of Benoit Vauclair with his fresh tires, with Vauclair pretty low fuel, pretty worn tires, not a lot of tread depth left on his wet tires, and it's still a couple more laps before he can really make this one-stop stick in the Foxdale, in the remaining Foxdale. But not a lot of competition behind for Nathaniel Cameron. John Bean's about 24 seconds behind at this point, so it's a pretty clear fight for the win between Vauclair and Cameron, and it looks like it's starting to go a little towards Cameron's way early going in his second stint so far.
Yeah, that's another 1.3 seconds that Cameron has taken out of Vauclair on that previous lap. I think the race for the win, assuming these cars hold together in these very treacherous conditions, it looks like the race for the win is very much between Vauclair and Cameron at this stage, currently. As I think we're going to see the holiday cars again swap positions here on alternate strategies. I believe Humbert Moutier on the one-stop strategy has been called into the pits by his team, but I mean, through that section, I don't think you could really afford to get out of line there, and now I think Humbert will allow his championship leader teammate through on the run down to 130R, as we're seeing also Václav Mališ pit, or Moutier doesn't in fact let his teammate through. Perhaps harsh words will be coming Humbert's way by the holiday crew. But either way, he'll be coming in to make his first and only pit stop of the race. And Mališ also returning to the race. And that's the race leader into the pits. Benoit Vauclair has finally come in. This will be a very long second stint, only pitting on lap 24 here as Nathaniel Cameron comes through into the race lead. Still flying in this middle stint as Vauclair now returns to the track. will still be comfortably in second place as John Beam's only coming onto the pit straight now. But it will be a game of conservation for Benoit Bouclet as he will have to nurse these tires and fuel load to the end of the race.
Hey, Benoit Boucler pitted. Look at that.
Yep.
It's time to get a good look at the true pace and the true difference between the two and how much time Daniel Cameron needs to make up before his second pit stop. Boucler coming through the Hitachi chicane now. Actually gonna have like Naoki Shinjo potentially to deal with in terms of lap traffic here, which will pay in favor of Cameron. So the gap at the stripe, 18 seconds. So Cameron needs to find about another 10 to 12 to be out in front of the Frenchman when he comes for his second stop. He's getting a little bit of help here with the Mecha needing to be lapped by Benoit here pretty soon.
That said, Cameron will be encountering traffic of his own very quickly with Humbert Moyen-Moutier not too far in front of him.
This is going to be like the first time that these drivers are going a lap down, which is comparatively a long time for an ARWS event. We're looking at Carmen Alvarez Trente coming in for her first service in the Adriatica. She also has like a bit of an outside chance at the championship, but she just needs a couple more positions go her way, or she needs a miracle in terms of Phillippe Nicolas retiring here, which seems unlikely at this point, but never outside the realm of possibility. You look at the retirements from everybody else in the W12s and the V8s, they've all had their issues one way or another outside of Naoki Shinjo, and it's a matter of, some people are thinking it is a matter of when, not a matter of if. As Cameron will get past Moyen-Moutier here before 130R, make it pretty easy on him. Does the driver of the holiday. As Shinjo probably going to get lapped here by Benoit Boucler in a pretty similar spot. As there's a car stop at Spoon. It's John Bean in the block monster. He's had a big off on the first section of the Spoon curve, trying to find his way back around. Already lost the position to Diego Alvarez Trente. Now it's going to be Monica Flatter, who John Bean was battling earlier, who had her own issues. As John Bean facing the wrong way, got a lot of time to get it facing the right way before Pierre Saint Laurent comes through, but he will really only lose the 2 positions, but it'll be about 30 seconds or so lost for the block monster, but he's still only down in 5th. He was about 40 seconds clear of Pierre Saint Laurent. It's going to be about 10 to 15 when timing and scoring updates at the end of the lap. Cameron still leads. He gained about 2 seconds over Boucler that last time around. Gap between Benoit Boucler and Diego Alvarez Trente is about 8.5. With Trente also on the 2 stop, so Boucler looking pretty cozy to have second at this point, fairly well wrapped up. It's Cameron over Volkler by 19, another 8 to Trente, then it's another 19 to Monica Flatzer, with John B now a full minute behind Nathaniel Cameron, with 10 seconds ahead of Pierre Saint Laurent himself. Carmen Alvarez Trente now about 85 seconds off the lead, but 14 seconds behind Saint Laurent. And that will be probably one of the big battles for position that will cycle out through the end of the race. I believe Saint Laurent is on the 2-stop with Carmen on the 1, so it'll be touch and go for 6th place here in the second half of this race. Got a yellow flag
That is
on the back straight. Seto facing the wrong way. On the looks like she was facing the wrong way. That was the right way, just with the way the camera was facing. She stopped on driver's right. Been another mechanical failure at Euromotor as Benoit Buckler is out from 2nd place. The leading Foxtail driver, the remaining Foxtail driver, had to have a pretty good chance to win this automobile race, but another double DNF for Foxtail has left it a Jones 1-2 in probably one of the most unlikely of scenarios you could have imagined for the 2023 ARWS. Jones has had a brutal run of it as Carmen Alvarez Trente now is out of the race in her Adriatica.
Oh my goodness.
That's another double DNF for Adriatica, as we've had a massive shakeup outside of the lead of this race.
And now Václav Malic
is out as well.
Oh my god.
He has lost drive.
Is anybody going to finish this race?
This is all playing very perfectly into Nicolas' hands. He could very well see himself lock up this championship up today. So,
very possible. It's 50 points for a win, and then it's another 20 if you get the first fastest lap, but it's not like any of the V8 or W12 runners are going to be able to get that, so we're just looking at that magic number being 50 for Phillippe Nicolas heading into the Macao Circuit, and the only one that really remains with a chance to try and usurp him is behind him in the championship. It's Naoki Shinjo, who will move into 9th when everything cycles out, when he finally gets unlapped from Benoit Volkler and passes the stricken Foxtail on track.
And of course, he'll be very happy to see that his teammate Humbert Moyamutier is doing his part by running currently ahead of Shinjo, taking more points away from the mecha driver, so that even if Shinjo finishes this race, it puts him in a very difficult position to take the championship at the Macao Circuit.
9 cars remain. Nathaniel Cameron, Diego Alvarez Trente in a Jones 1-2. We're rolling back the clock to the early 2010s here in the 2023 Kansai Grand Prix. It's Monica Flatzer, John Bean, Pierre Saint Laurent with rounding out the top 5 minutes. Phillippe Nicolas, the championship leader, in 6th. Tomo Kazama, Humbert Muramuchi, and then the last runner is Naoki Shinjo in the 2nd of the Mecha Mugans. Saint Laurent, like, a decent chance at another point as we just passed halfway. Saint Laurent, could get another podium here if this continues up. It's only about 20 seconds or so behind John Bean, who's had his own issues not that long ago at Spoon Curve. He's been doing a pretty good job. Been one of the better. He's had a really good second half performance in the RWS, but it's only so much that he can do with Phillippe Nicolas behind us. Saint Laurent comes in for his scheduled service in the Bentley Kamaha. Long fuel stop. He was on the 1 stop as well. We'll be going to the end from here on this 1 set of tires.
Yes, that's a perfect break of the race into 2 halves here for Saint Laurent, who's really been very metronomic in that Kama Bentley. Had a little bit of a difficult start to the season, despite the, of course, finishing 2nd to his teammate in the 1-2 finish for Kama at the Nürburgring. But definitely over the back half of the season, Pierre Saint Laurent has been coming on very, very consistently, picking up the points, and as I noted earlier, he has actually overhauled Klon in the championship and is, I think, one of the the only driver really, I think, who has a chance, other than Naoki Shinjo, to potentially overhaul Nicola at this point now. Again, all that predicated on Nicola's car actually failing him for once, which doesn't seem likely, but might happen. Who knows?
Yeah, the Holiday team have tuned up his car right all year, and it's been continuing to work out in the favor of the French veteran of the series. And he's just gonna get a top 5 for his troubles and just surviving what has been a pretty tumultuous day here at the Suzuka Circuit.
Well, Pierre Saint-Laurent is probably going to catch and pass him, but even then, it's I think Nicolas would take that if the only damage done to his point lead is losing 2 points to Pierre Saint-Laurent. I think he will be very happy with that.
He's not gonna be worried about that at all. No. Four to go at stage 2 here in Mexico City. Ty Gibbs over Shane Van Gisbergen, but Van Gisbergen's got the bit between his teeth. Cut down maybe about a 1/10 and a half to the driver of the Monster Energy Toyota as they go through the stadium section. Van Gisbergen just looks way more comfortable in these drying conditions compared to the grandson of Coach Joe Gibbs. Gonna have a great run down this long front straightaway here in his Trackhouse Chevrolet. 3 to go on the stage. The gap between 54 and the 88, half a second. It's Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman 3rd and 4th, but Chase Elliott, William Byron, Bubba Wallace all coming in for service before the pits close with 2 to go on the stage. Cameron leads over Trente. The gap between the two Joneses, 28 and a half seconds. Oh, okay, I'll stop now. I'll stop with the double commentary. It's fun, though.
It's funny.
We're having a day where x86 GP2 is having a real one, so, like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
yeah, but then Kevin Harlan.
It's very true.
To be fair, there's not a lot going on in the rest of this race in terms of on-track action.
I understand that reference. Imagine if BVN went like 3 in a row and it just started saying like onions when he crossed the line. That'd be really funny. Pierre Saint Laurent is closing in on Phillippe Nicolas here for 5th with the fresh tires and the full tank of fuel for the Bentley Yamaha. So it'll be Nicolas probably fitting in the next 5 or 6 laps at the earliest for his 2-stop strategy to be complete. Cameron Tarente, Flatter Bean, and Nicolas the top 5 at the moment. As Tomo Kazama comes in for her 2nd service of the day. I believe she's on the 3-stop actually.
Yeah, that is the 3-stop strategy for Tomo Kazama. Not entirely sure why Mecha thinks this is the way to go, but well, they're locked into it seems.
It also just kind of feels like one of those races in Grand Prix Manager 2 where there's like the seed just decides, yeah, only like this is just gonna happen. It's like it's gonna be non-stop calamity through the game being wonky or otherwise, and you'll just get like 9 cars finishing a race. You know what? That just happens, man.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of at a point where like the people who should be at the front are gonna be at the front, and we're looking at one of like the longest standing teams in ARWS, rolling back the clock to the early days of the feuds that they had with between Sammy Jones and Daniel Melrose, even though it's now Jacques Cousteau running the Jones team with the permission of Sammy Jones and the blessing of Sammy Jones, making both of the Ford engines work for the first time to a full extent for both of the cars. So they have had probably the worst string of reliability of all of the teams running the Ford EcoBoost power. They could get a 1-2 and win 2 from 3, have 3 races on the podium, and really have as good of a run through these Asian flyaways, these Australasian flyaways, as they could possibly have had here.
Saint Laurent still slowly reeling in Nicolas, again having to take care of those tires and manage his fuel, but I believe Nicolas still has a pit stop to make, so it may be a little bit of a moot point between them, but at least for pride, if nothing else, Pierre Saint Laurent will try and close down the gap between himself and the championship leader. Also noting that John Bean is also starting to reel in Monica Flatter for a third position. Both these drivers, again, still have one more pit stop to make currently. Bean also wanting to make up for throwing it off into the gravel spoon curve earlier. Of course, Flatter had her own issue with a spin at the Hitachi chicane, but I think Bean's incident was a little bit more costly to him, as evidenced by the fact that he's now behind Flatter on track.
Top 6 still on the lead lap. It's Kazama, Muramuchi, and Shinjo, all just the one down at the moment. It's going to be a little while before Nathaniel Cameron catches St. Laurent anyways, with the relative pace on the track. 2-minute 3s, 4, and 5s for most of the field here. We're going to see the difference between Phillippe Nicolas and Pierre St. Laurent at the line. It's about 3-ish seconds between the two, with Nicolas owing us a pit stop pretty soon here. But it might be a moot point with St. Laurent having pretty good pace for his second stint at the moment. Going to try for an overtake on Nicolas in not too far long. I mean, let's just see what's going on between Nicolas and Saint Laurent. Let's just go on board with Saint Laurent for a little while. See what he's dealing with at the moment. The gap has visibly decreased between the two as they go down onto this back straightaway. VMAX of about $180 miles an hour for St. Laurent on the Bentley Yamaha. Probably pretty similar for Nicolas in the Holiday. Maybe a couple miles an hour difference, really. Going through the Hitachi chicane here. Pretty steady for St. Laurent here, but it will be definitely catching just that little bit to the Holiday driver ahead.
Yeah, it was about a tenth of a second difference between the two of them. I think, again, the heavy rain here very much equalizing the power difference between the engines on this track.
And we saw St. Laurent put a lot of wheel into it, into the first section of the opening of the lap, just to try and get it settled down underneath them, and a lot of wheel going through this initial section of the S-bend where it's like it gets tighter and slows down the entire way, only down to about 60 miles an hour before going up to Dunlop curve, where you're just kind of having to be really patient before you get the power on, otherwise the car will just kind of scrub all the way to the right and you'll be off and out of the race. We haven't really seen that today. We've seen the issues at the Degners with the likes of Martin McFry and Takumi Taki having their issues, as well as Andrei Krenominski, and a couple of issues at Spoon and at the Atashi chicane, but pretty steady so far for Pierre St. Laurent as he goes through the airpin. You kind of want to diamond the corner a little bit, not be fully tight to your left on the hairpin to try and make sure you have a good drive off through to 1 ATR, and then here to Spoon Curve, where he is a little bit closer. You can kind of see a little bit more of the back of the Holiday Mugen relative to last time around, but it's the gap he's making up to the Frenchman. Has like, we're talking like little bit here, a little bit there, nothing really crazy as we make it back down to 130R. They'll be starting lap 34 here with Nicolas going to be giving us a pit stop pretty soon here with the two-stop strategy going to be reaching its conclusion.
Yeah, expecting the window to open for the two-stop strategy on this lap, so Nicolas should be in very shortly here. And speaking of which, the two-stopping Nathaniel Cameron has made his way into the pits. Routine service for Jones. Not really under any pressure from his teammate. Just got to get the car fueled up and back out there.
It's a 10-5 stop for the Jones crew. Pretty standard stop. A little extra checks here and there. Make sure nothing goes wrong. Although the wheel nuts are tight on all four corners. Clean off the front wing. He is back out pretty comfortably ahead of his teammate, who'll be pitting as well pretty soon here. It'll probably be about a 5 to 10 second gap between the two. Once Cameron gets a little bit of heat in his tires, he's back underway.
I believe Kazuma has now gotten around Humbert Moyen-Moutier's. I thought I saw a little bit of fire coming out of her engine. Maybe that was just me, but her last lap was fairly slow, so we'll just keep an eye on that situation. And that's Monica Flatter. Monica Flatter's car has given up on her! Completely out of power, brings it to a stop in the gravel trap, and that is any shot of a maiden podium for Monica Flatter out of consideration here. She is done for the day. And that hands the third and final podium spot over to John Bean, who's now looking at his potential third podium of the season, which is not something I think anybody expected. For the Australian-born Brit, sponsored by Jagonya IAM.
And it's gonna put a pretty big shakeup in the back half of the Constructors' Championship. With as they stand, it's gonna be 98 points for a 1-2 for Jones, and they're gonna be right back with the likes of Bert Andeveld and March 16 in kind of like battling for like 5th, 6th, and 7th in the Constructors table after being tail end Charlies for basically the entire season and just finally getting some results head their way. So we're looking, we're looking at, this is the Encore, because they were only doing like 155. It was Tomo Kazama.
Yeah, that's Cosmo. She's got a bit of an engine issue on her car as well.
20 miles an hour down relative to what we see out of Pierre St. Laurent.
Again, part of that's going to be down to the engine power issue that Kazuma's having currently. Perhaps one of the cylinders going bad on that engine.
So now it'll be 8 cars remaining. Naoki Shinjo will be gaining another position there, with Phillippe Nicolas now moving up to 4th. One of the things for Nicolas as well, like, he doesn't have a podium on the year either. Like, he's been the most steady and most reliable of all the drivers, but it's just been collecting top 10s the entire way, and only has the only has 2 top 5s on the year. He got one at Nürburgring, and then he got another one at in Trondheim, Norway, and that's his best finishes of the year. Naoki Shinjo finished ahead of him at the Nürburgring, but throughout the rest of the year, it's been Nicolas kind of been nickel and diming points out of the Macao driver through the rest of the way, in the battle of the two who have finished every race. And now we're seeing that again this time out with Nicolas just that little bit ahead of Shinjo the entire way. And now we're looking at a solid 8-point swing between the two. And while that won't necessarily be game over in the championship mathematically, it's a lot of points to be able to make up over just a single race with the kind of rate of attrition and luck necessary to try and make up the gap.
Yeah, that would extend the point lead from Nicolas to Shinjo to 42 points, which is what you get for 5th place here. So, again, Shinjo would need to finish 5th, and Nicolas retired to have any shot of winning the championship, assuming they finish as they currently run. Also, a note on that podium finish for Shinjo at the Nürburgring. Of course, that was the maiden podium for Macao Grand Prix after all their years of trying, but that podium only fell their way because Phillippe Nicolas had, I think, a couple of issues, had a couple of moments off as we see John Bean into the pits, but Nicolas probably should have gotten that podium. I think he was running ahead of Pierre Solomon even. Sorry, I forgot they're supposed to talk here. I forgot exactly where I left off before I just took my finger off the button. Can you remind me?
I was also zoned out. My apologies. John Bean came in for his second service of the day. He is good to go to the end, looking for, I believe it'll be another podium for Block Monster.
Yeah, this will be his 3rd podium of the season. He scored all their podiums so far this season. Of course, Block Monster, we now have learned that they will no longer be continuing in this guise, as we see also Phillippe Nicolas, championship leader, finally making his final pit stop of the race. But it will be BYD Automotive who will be taking over the operations of the Block Monster team going forward. And that will be a works effort, so we will be seeing a new manufacturer entering the mix for ARWS for 2024, which will be very exciting to see, I'm sure. But as I
realised with that.
Sorry, what was that?
One thing I've realised: a Chinese manufacturer that isn't like a joke/poverty entry. Because I remember when Great Wall was an engine option.
Oh yes. The infamous Great Wall engines, most famously I think associated with the Rob Lomas racing team. And of course with the Team Fusion before
before they did their engine switch, yes.
Yeah, before they did their engine switch, basically dominated 2018 as a result of Terry Hawkins.
So most of the pit stops have cycled out, except for anybody else running the 3-stop that remains. Nathaniel Cameron leads over teammate Diego Alvarez-Torrente by a solid 31 seconds. John Bean another 37-38 behind in 3rd. Pierre St. Laurent another 37-38 behind in 4th. And it's Phillippe Nicolas in 5th, having done his second pit stop, with Humbert Muramuche, his teammate in the second holiday, in 6th. Then it's Tomo Kazama and Naoki Shinjo in the pair of mechas running out. And that's also another thing that's working out for Holiday on the constructor side. Muramuchi has done effectively just enough, paired with the fact that Tomo Kazama has had pretty brutal bad luck in this late run of the championship. And same for Bentley Kamaha. They've had 3 failures of Klon in pretty short succession, with another one happening here. So we might be looking at the Constructors' Championship effectively locked up for Holiday here as well, with just the math not really working out in the favor of Bentley or Mecha with one race to go after we are done here in Suzuka.
Especially with that retirement now for Pierre Saint-Laurent, that moves Nicolas back up into 4th position, Moya Moutier into 5th. This is basically going to be game over for the Constructors' Championship, because there's basically no chance I see that even if mathematically the championship will still be open, I don't see any chance for Bentley or for Mecha to get back into this.
At this point, it might be expedient to hope for Shinjo's retirement, so we don't have to pretend there's a championship battle going on in Macau.
Anything is still possible. It is still Macau we're talking about. It's still the hardest street track to race at in the world, and these cars are just so fast, and just anything is possible. If there's one errant mistake, and say at like Maternity Bend or coming through Fisherman's or our Bend, it's like anything is still on the table, and that includes what could happen to Phillippe Nicolas one way or another. $16 to go, passing 2/3 distance here in a pretty short order here. 30 seconds the gap. Well, it would have been 30 seconds as they cross the stripe, as Diego Alvarez Torrente is out from 2nd place. He is at Spoon Curve. Might have stopped his Jones Ford kind of on driver's left. A move up John Bean to 3rd. Phillippe Nicolas will finally potentially get his podium, as we see the stricken Jones to the left as we were riding on board with Tomo Kazama. Another couple points for Shinjo, but he is still six or 8 points behind Phillippe Nicolas ahead.
I mean, that's going to be cancelled out, because that's also 2 points for Nicolas.
Mm-hmm.
So it does look like Phillippe Nicolas is currently in position to get that podium finish. He was in position to get it at the Nürburgring, but had a couple of spins in that race. Well, I believe he was running in and around where Pierre Saint-Laurent was, and of course Saint-Laurent wound up finishing 2nd in that race. But Nicolas wound up, I think, going off the track and then spinning, and that allowed both Saint-Laurent and Shinjo to pass him, dropping him down to 4th place and leaving him without a podium on the year. But he is now moved up into 3rd position, and this will put sensationally Humbert Moya Moutier in 4th. With only 6 cars running, with still both of the mechas going. Although I'm not sure exactly how long Tomo Kazama's Mugen Honda is for this world. Oh my gosh!
Hello?
That looked almost like John Bean just brake
check.
Yeah. Fortunately, that doesn't seem to have damaged either of their cars, but I think that was quite uncalled for.
And after his exploit at the Brands Hatch circuits, I don't think he will be in the good books of the steward.
I think at this point, I don't think the stewards are particularly interested in what happens for the rest of this race. There's only 6 cars still running. And I mean, with the replay functionality effectively disabled, I don't think anybody's going to be too worried if the stewards just take the day off today. Just pull the classic NHL playoff ref shtick. So it is now Nathaniel Cameron with a lead of 1 minute and 10 seconds over John Bean in the block monster. Bean now just effectively really stroking it home at this point. He's got absolutely no chance of catching Cameron with now about 13 and a half laps to go. Phillippe Nicolas doing exactly what he needs to, keeping that car on the track and running. And Moyen Moutier also doing what he needs to do to effectively lock up this Constructors' Championship for Holiday Racing Team. I think if they can secure this effectively secure this title with a 3rd and a 4th at Suzuka, it will be, I think, beyond their wildest expectations at the start of the season.
Aren't we approximating the point where they can look it up mathematically?
I'm not sure. I'll take a look, as not like there's a huge amount going on currently.
Yeah, we're just hanging out. It's 2023 ARWS Kansai Grand Prix. You got Real Racing Roots here. You got Salamander. You got Klon. We got a venerable amount of peanuts in the gallery here. Just hanging out on enjoying your Sunday afternoon here. And also got the NASCAR Cup Series on in the background. It's been looking behind the looking glass. It's been a good day for racing. You know what I mean? We got just a little bit more going on with ARWS and some other stuff going on. Cameron leads 1 minute and 10. Might be a battle for 2nd or 3rd eventually in case Bean does have another mistake, but very unlikely at the moment. Unless Nicolas has just been put a lap down. I think he is actually a lap down. I think it actually is just straight up the top 2 are on the lead lap, and that is it at this point. Nicolas,
Yeah.
Mormucci, Kazama, and Shinjo are all just the 1 lap down here. 13 laps to go here in Suzuka.
Okay, they can't lock it up mathematically with the way things are running currently, but Mecha would need fastest lap points in order to overhaul them at this point. So I think we can effectively, assuming the holidays finish where they're currently running, we can effectively call the Constructors' Championship for them.
So that's both championships going to Macau on technicalities, but yeah.
Realistically, some stuff would need to happen when we head to the Gia circuit for the Macau Grand Prix.
We might as well save ourselves the trouble and stay at home.
Well, I mean, it could still be a good race, you know? championship implications aside, I think the races have generally been pretty good. And yeah, we'd be heading into Macao Circuit with only Shinjo able to dethrone Nicolas from that maiden drivers championship here. So effectively a formality championship wise, it looks like. Oh, Shinjo has gotten around Cosma, it seems. I think that, again, that engine issue that Cosma is dealing with is allowed her teammate to take those 2 points away, but again, that's not really going to make much difference in the grand scheme of things here.
Well, the big thing that it's going to do, it's going to allow Mecha to overhaul Bentley Kamaha in the Constructors' Championship, with Bentley having a double retirement here in Suzuka between Lon and Saint Laurent. That's the big change that's going to happen coming out of Suzuka is that switch back over to Mecha being second in the Constructors' Championship.
Essentially, yes.
And then it'll be another big points haul for Jones, getting another 50 on the board, potentially, if Nathaniel Cameron can't get a second win from 3 weekends after his victory in Simmons Plain. Still be another big haul for them up after being basically on the back end of the field for most of the season in the Constructors' table.
Cameron now cruising about 2 seconds off his fastest pace, still maintaining that gap at a comfortable 1:10 over John Dean. So again, at this point, they're just managing their cars, trying to get home and bank these points. Of course, very bitterly, Jones did have a 1-2 on the table here, but unfortunately, Torrente's car just couldn't quite go the distance. And that is Tomo Kazuma making her final stop of the race. We'll see if this effectively eliminates her from the race because she was having engine issues of her own.
What's brutal as well is that she is going to be outside of 90% for classification as well, assuming the engine goes pop in the next couple of laps here. So we'll only be at the most 5 people scoring points, with lap 50 to 51 being the 90% point for classified finish.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, she's, her car has, called it, and that will leave us with 5 cars still running. And it also, actually lock up the Constructors' Championship for Holiday now. Just take a lap around the circuit with Nathaniel Cameron here, who's been very much untroubled for this race win ever since Bouclair retired earlier in the race. Again, the i3 pulling about 190 miles an hour down the pit straight there. But having to slow down to about 40 miles an hour there at that point through the S's. Again, Cameron just taking it slow and steady through these final laps. He does not need to push the car at all. His closest competitor, they're over a minute behind him. As he looks to secure his second career ARWS win, only 2 races after getting the first in fairly similar circumstances at the Simmons Plains Raceway. That too was very much a race of attrition, and it was an unlikely Cameron who weathered a electrical issue on his car and a broken front wing to come through and win the race regardless. Interestingly enough, he did actually win that race also from Benoit Bouclair. But this time, it will be... he will not be seeing Bouclair on the podium. Assuming he makes it through these final few laps, which hopefully he should. That's 195 miles an hour in wet conditions, in the absolutely torrential rain we're seeing here at the Suzuka Circuit. It's well, he's still able to pull out the engine, at least the top range of the engine, but still putting in laps about 2.5 seconds off his quickest lap time of this race.
And we're still 3 laps away from the classification point of 90% race distance, so it's just a little bit more to go before the championship is really well and truly defined before we get to Macao in a few weeks' time.
I mean, not much happening right now, but what do you expect with 5 cars on track?
Yeah.
X86 GP2 has had a real one today. Let's be real here.
Yeah. This has been. Well, I figured I'd go for a relatively high seed just to see the kind of chaos it might breed, and it has definitely been a chaotic one.
And then stuff would happen, and then we go to replay, and no, it didn't.
Yeah.
Like there were multiple like retirements that didn't happen, and then the seed reactivated, and then it just happened later. You know.
Yeah, the weather and replay thing, that absolutely needs to be worked on.
I mean these the changes and the improvements made to GP2 are done hot, as hot as you can like imagine like could be done. Just because like it's an abandonware game. That's like who's really gonna be doing a whole lot of like Q&A for an abandonware game? Is that who was in the 77? Is that Carson? Or is that
I think that is Hocevar in the 77.
No, that's unfortunate. He's kind of facing the wall out of the peloton. The caution's out. It is Cameron, Bean, Nicolay, Murmuche, and Shinjo, as Cameron is putting Shinjo another lap down here. It's only 2 laps down here for Naoki Shinjo. As we start lap 51, that is the 90% point for Cameron when he crosses the stripe here. He is guaranteed points on the day. It'll be John Bean about halfway across the circuit right now. He'll be getting to that 90% point when he comes back around. Just exiting the hairpin is the Block Monster driver going for another podium on the campaign.
Yes, despite the moments of madness at Brands Hatch, it's been a pretty impressive season for John Bean. I think definitely putting a lot of the question marks over his driving ability to rest over the last few races. Very much looking at a third podium of the season, which would be very phenomenal. I think even considering the power of Koenigsegg in the back of that Block Monster, he was not like... I don't think many people would have considered him a legitimate candidate for podiums on anything other than a very occasional basis, but to have 3 podiums in 13 races is, I think, well beyond what his best expectations.
And he's had the measure of Akira Yamamura pretty regularly as well, and Yamamura is no slouch either. Yamamura pretty darn good, and then we've seen John being able to take the most of the opportunities that he's been given, and it's going to be a second place here, or at the very least 5th place points for John Bean out here.
Yeah, so I think Yamamura now one of the most unlucky drivers, with the only driver being more unlucky than them at this point is Edvard Holm, because Yamamura's only finished 2 races. Granted, they've seen the checkered flag at least, which is more than Holm can say, but still, I don't think they've finished a race since Brands Hatch, which is right about the halfway point of the season. So this is looking like now 5 consecutive DNFs for Yamamura. Yeah, no, this is the 6th. This will be the 6th consecutive race without any points at all for Yamamura, who had a streak of 3 consecutive points results. Of course, the 2 4th-place finishes in Czechia and at the British Grand Prix, but also picked up 5 points for the 3rd fastest lap at Loudon. But since then, it's just been nothing for the Japanese driver. And it's been very unfortunate because they've been very quick throughout their entire career, and have again been generally one of the better drivers, I would say, across the season. Just no luck with the finishes. And that is all 5 drivers now on the 51st lap or better, which I believe means they should all qualify for points in this race. As we now have Cameron with a little under 4 laps to go in this race. Still managing that pace perfectly well, managing the gap to John Bean, not that he really needs to, but it is very stable. And just looking to finish off these last few laps and take that second win. This will be Jones's 20th win in their ARWS history. Of course, the first 18 of them coming before the 2020 season. In fact, before the 2019 season. The last win before Simmons Plains was in 2018. But to win 2 races in across the last 3 gives them at least a little bit of momentum heading into the 2024 campaign, where they'll be hoping for much improved reliability. Have heard some rumblings about them perhaps parting with from Ford. Not entirely sure how much truth there is to that, but if nothing else, at least they'll finish. If they do call time on their partnership with Ford, it will be they will at least have a couple wins to see it off with, if nothing else. Ooh, Karen there having a little bit of a moment at the Hitachi chicane, but no major drama there, just a little bit wide on exit. As they now go on to the 55th of 56 laps here in Suzuka. Just about 4 minutes to go for him in that car before he can celebrate a well-deserved second ARWS win.
Is that Nicolas or Mormoutier? Excuse me, putting down 2 laps now. It is Humbert Mormoutier. Doing a good job out there, running his own pace effectively this Kansai Grand Prix. And that's kind of been the story of Mormoutier the whole season. Just bring it home in one piece, and that it's been mission accomplished the entire season for Mormoutier at Holiday. To where like it's probably done enough to where he's secured the drive in the second Holiday for next season if they want to keep him on board, because he's been a big factor in making sure that they are in contention for the Constructors' Championship, as everybody else kind of fell by the wayside. They needed that second driver who can just be there when it matters the most, and he's going to get a top 5 result out of this one, as Cameron not too far behind. Maybe we'll put him another lap down here, but it's 1 lap to go here in Suzuka Circuit for the Kansai Grand Prix of 2023. Nathaniel Cameron, 1 more lap to go in the Jones Ford to bring in the 3rd podium in a row for the Jones team and their 2nd win from 3 races after finally breaking through at Symmons Plains in Australia about a month and a bit ago. It's been a wild one, for a lack of a better term. Only 5 cars are going to be classified, and it started out with the Racing Points, who started 1-2 on the day, falling by the wayside really early, with both of them having separate engine issues. Bastien van Nieuwenhuizen was leading initially, had an issue, fell down to 9th and 10th before everyone else around him would start to have issues, and Takuma Taki would take the lead. He'd have an engine failure heading into Degner 1. Martin McFry would lead for about 3 seconds before he had an engine before he would spin off at Degner 2, presumably with the assistance of some of the oil coming out of Takuma Taki's Racing Point. Then Benoit Vauclair briefly led. He fell by the wayside in the second of the Foxtails, and then only one really remaining after that were the 2 Joneses, and only one of them was going to make the finish after Diego Alvarez Trente himself had some issues. Had a spin at the Hitachi chicane, was able to recover back up to 2nd place in a remarkable drive from the former world champion, as we follow Cameron lapping Mormoutier on the back straightaway. But it's been another strong drive for Nathaniel Cameron. Did everything right and has been there ready to strike in the same way that he was able to at Symmons Plains Raceway. 1 more section of corners to go. A tricky exit out of the Hitachi chicane in terrible conditions. It's a 2nd victory on the season for Jones. Is Nathaniel Cameron crossing the line and winning the Kansai Grand Prix for 2023?
Yes, an absolutely imperious drive by Cameron to close out this win. Really, the only driver I think who was any threat to him was Benoit Vauclair, but I don't think in hindsight Vauclair really had the pace that to really challenge Cameron. Humbert Mormoutier gets a career best 4th place finish, definitely showing that he is far more suited to these ARWS cars than he ever was in the ARST. Naoki Shinjo is the last car to finish in 5th place, 2 laps down. Phillippe Nicolas takes his first podium of the season, and his first podium since... give me a second. That is his first podium since the 2019 South Africa Grand Prix, where he also finished third for the Vauclé Grand Prix engineering team. And John Bean will secure the third podium for himself and for Block Monster. A very solid effort for him in tricky conditions. But beyond them, it is an absolute graveyard. Diego Alvarez Torrente out of the race, was running second, looked like it could have been a 1-2 for Jones, didn't turn out that way. Pierre Saint-Laurent looked like he may have been able to keep his Slim Championship hopes alive, didn't turn out that way. Benoit Vauclé at least had a second on the cards, engine failed. Carmen Alvarez Torrente, her championship aspirations are about done. BVN kept his car running for a significantly long period of time before it finally cried enough. Shortly after his pit stop, Klon also out of the race. A very dismal end to what looked so promisingly like a real shot at the championship for him. Edvard Home out. Not really a big surprise there. It's been that kind of season for him. Martin McFry, as mentioned, crashed out very soon after Taki had to pull out of the race due to his own issues. And just one of those races. X86 GP2 definitely had a real one today. As for the fastest lap, Takuma Taki does at least take something home from this race, points-wise for Racing Point. Emma Kickert with the second fastest lap, and Martin McFry at least gets his first point since the race at in Austin, Circuit of the Americas, with the third fastest lap. As we look down towards the end of the grid, it's looking like, pretty much exactly how as you would expect. Of course, Václav Malish, with that early retirement, wasn't able to get the lap type in that would see him roughly where you would normally expect. But although to be fair, Phillippe Nicolas with a 17th fastest lap of the race, that is actually quite impressive for him in that car. Faster than anything that the Euromotors managed, faster than the Adriatica of Carmen Alvarez Torrente. Very good run for Nicola, and a well-deserved podium, I have to say. But with that aside, we'll see you for the season finale of the 2023 ARWS season at Macao Gaia Circuit. See you then.